In an imposing mansion, silence hides secrets darker than any scandal. The camera that was supposed to protect her records the exact moment her own partner pushes her, pregnant, to the floor. When the video leaks, it's not just a crime that comes to light. It's the beginning of a revolution. The rain beat gently against the windows of the mansion when Marianne opened her eyes that June morning. The master bedroom of the grand house in Kensington, London, had a sea view, but the thick curtains always remained closed. That's how Robert preferred it, he said the morning. Light bothered him. That privacy was essential, that people like them needed to protect themselves from prying eyes. Marianne had already given up arguing. She had learned over the past few months that some battles simply weren't worth fighting. She ran her hand over her round belly, feeling the baby stir. 6 months pregnant. A girl. Sophia, she had already chosen the name, although Robert had not yet given his definitive approval. He preferred to wait, saying it was too early for sentimental decisions. Marianne smiled to herself, whispering softly to the daughter growing inside her. "Good morning, my little one. Today will be a peaceful day, I promise. We'll choose the last few things for your nursery. It'll be beautiful, you'll see." The smell of coffee drifted up from the kitchen. Doris, the housekeeper who had worked in the house for almost 2 years, always woke up before everyone else. She was a woman in her 50s, discreet, efficient, with eyes that seemed to see beyond what people said. Marianne liked her, though they rarely had deep conversations. Robert didn't like her getting too close to the staff. He said it was important to maintain distance, hierarchy, respect. Marianne understood the words, but not the tone in which they were spoken. She got up slowly, feeling the weight of her pregnancy with every movement. Her light pink silk pajamas slid smoothly over her skin. She walked to the bathroom, observing her reflection in the mirror. Her brown hair fell in natural waves over her shoulders. Her face still carried traces of the beauty that had caught Robert's attention 3 years earlier, when they met at a charity event hosted by his company. At the time, she worked as a lawyer in a modest firm, dreamed of opening her own practice, and had an independent life. Everything changed so quickly. The whirlwind romance, the marriage proposal in Paris, the subtle pressure for her to quit her job. After all, the wife of Robert Davies didn't need to work. He owned one of London's largest construction companies, a respected, powerful, admired man. She would be the queen by his side. But queens in castles are not always free. Marianne washed her face, applied moisturizer, and tied her hair in a loose bun. She put on a long, light and comfortable beige cotton dress. Robert was travelling. Another business meeting in Manchester. He would only return late in the afternoon. These days when he travelled were the only ones Marianne could truly breathe. She could choose what to eat, watch whatever she wanted on television, talk on the phone without feeling the weight of his gaze on every word. She descended the marble stairs carefully, holding the handrail. The house was immense. 5 ensuite bedrooms, living room, dining room, office, library, cinema room, fully equipped gym, heated pool, garden with ornamental fountains. Everything impeccable, custom-made, meticulously controlled. Even the flowers in the vases were changed twice a week to maintain an appearance of eternal freshness. Doris greeted her with a discreet smile when she entered the kitchen. "Good morning, Mrs. Marianne. Coffee is ready. I've prepared that wholemeal toast you like, and there's fresh fruit too." "Thank you, Doris. You're an angel." Marianne sat at the kitchen table, something she would never do if Robert were home. He insisted that meals be served in the formal dining room with linen tablecloths and china dinnerware. But at that moment, Marianne just wanted simplicity. "Did you sleep well?" Doris asked as she poured orange juice. "Yes, better than in recent days. I think Sophia was tired too." Marianne chuckled softly, touching her belly. "That's good. And the decorator is coming today, isn't she?" "That's right. 10 o'clock. We're going to finalize the last details of the room. I can't wait to see it all finished." Doris nodded, but her eyes held something Marianne couldn't quite decipher. Concern, perhaps, or just tiredness. It was hard to tell. After coffee, Marianne went to what would be Sophia's room. The room was on the 2nd floor, next to the master bedroom. It was spacious, with large windows overlooking the garden. The walls had been painted in a soft shade of lilac, and the solid wood crib was already assembled in the center. Robert had chosen the crib. In fact, Robert had chosen almost everything: the model, the color, the arrangement of the furniture. Marianne had suggested some changes, but he always had a better argument, a more logical reason. "You don't understand design, my love. Leave it to me. Trust me." She trusted him, or at least she tried to. Her phone vibrated in her dress pocket. It was her father, Maurice, a retired federal judge, a man of strict principles and a huge heart. He called every day since he found out about the pregnancy. "Daughter, how are you?" "Hi, Dad, I'm fine. Yes, Sophia is moving around a lot today." "How wonderful. And Robert, how is he treating you?" "Well, Dad, he's in Manchester for work, but he's back today." Always traveling, that man. Are you sure everything's all right there?" "Yes, Dad, don't worry, everything's under control." A lie, but a necessary lie. Maurice had never fully approved of the marriage. He found Robert controlling, arrogant, too cold. But Marianne had defended her choice. She said her father was being overly protective, that Robert was just serious, focused, that she was happy. She repeated this version so often that she almost started to believe it herself. "All right, daughter, but anything at all, you call me. Promise?" "I promise, Dad. I love you." "I love you too, my girl." When she hung up, Marianne felt a tightness in her chest, a longing for the life she had before, for carefree conversations, easy laughter, the feeling that the world was open before her. Now, her world was that mansion. Beautiful, luxurious, but also claustrophobic. The doorbell rang promptly at 10 o'clock. It was Beatrice, the decorator. A woman in her early 30s, creative, talkative, full of energy. Marianne enjoyed her company. It was one of the few times she could talk to someone from outside without feeling like every word was being judged. "Marianne, darling, how's that little princess in there?" Beatrice entered, smiling, carrying folders with fabric samples and furniture catalogues. "Agitated today. I think she's anxious to see her nursery finished." "Then let's finish this up. I brought the latest curtain options and also some lovely little pictures I found. You'll love them." They went upstairs together. Doris served tea and biscuits, then discreetly withdrew. Beatrice began showing the options, talking animatedly about textures and color combinations. Marianne listened, participated, offered her opinion. It was good to feel she still had a voice about something, even if it was just her daughter's room decoration. "And Robert, did he like the previous choices?" Beatrice asked casually. Marianne hesitated. "He thought the lilac could be a little darker, but I liked it this way. I think it looks delicate." Beatrice looked at her attentively. "You're the mother, Marianne. Your opinion is what matters most here." "I know." Marianne forced a smile. "And I'm happy with everything." "Great. Then let's finalize these linen curtains with embroidery. They'll match perfectly." When Beatrice left, it was already noon. Marianne ate lunch alone, a light salad Doris prepared. Afterward, she lay on the living room sofa, picked up a book she was reading, a novel about a woman who left everything to start over in a small town. Fiction, escapism, a world where choices were possible. The sound of the garage door woke her. She had fallen asleep without realizing it. Robert was back. Marianne quickly got up, smoothed her dress, ran a hand through her hair. He came. Through the kitchen door, impeccable suit, leather briefcase in hand, a closed expression. "Hi, love. How was your trip?" Marianne approached, attempting a kiss, but he turned his face, offering only his cheek. "Tiring. Meeting after meeting. Too many incompetent people in this country." He placed his briefcase on the table, loosened his tie. "And here, how was it?" "Quiet. The decorator came. We finalized Sophia's room." "I hope it's as I asked." "It's beautiful, Robert. You'll like it." "I'll see it later. Now I need to take a shower and sort some things out in the office." He went. Upstairs without looking back. Marianne stood there, still feeling the weight of the silence. Doris appeared from the laundry room, gave her a sympathetic look, but said nothing. There was nothing to say. That evening, they dined together. Robert talked about business, contracts, people who had disappointed him. Marianne listened, nodded. Ask the right questions at the right times. It was a role she had learned to play well. When he finished speaking, she mentioned that an old friend, Caroline, had called earlier wanting to arrange lunch. Robert lifted his eyes from his plate. Caroline, that friend of yours from university? That's right. We haven't seen each other in a while. You're 6 months pregnant, Marianne. Do you really think you have the energy to go out? It was just lunch, love. Something quiet. I think you'd better rest. Pregnancy is no joke. Besides, you don't need to expose yourself so much. Expose myself, it's just a friend. He sighed, as if dealing with a stubborn child. Marianne, I'm just thinking about your well-being, and our daughter's well-being. You know how people talk, better to avoid it. She didn't insist, it never helped to insist. After dinner they went to the bedroom. Robert turned on his laptop, answered emails. Marianne lay down, looking at the ceiling. The house was too silent. A silence that weighed, that suffocated. She closed her eyes and mentally conversed with Sophia. You'll be here soon, my daughter, and everything will be different. I promise I'll protect you. I promise you'll grow up free. But deep down, Marianne knew that promises made in silence rarely come true. The following days passed with the same suffocating routine. Marianne would wake up, have coffee, talk to Sophia, spend her afternoons reading or watching documentaries that Robert approved of. He controlled even that. No soap operas, he'd say. They're vulgar, melodramatic, for uncultured people. Marianne, who had once loved melodramatic storylines, now pretended to agree. It was easier that way. On Thursday of that week, the phone rang again. It was Caroline, her friend insisted. Marianne, for heaven's sake, I haven't seen you in ages. I miss you. Let's have lunch, even if it's quick, please. Marianne felt like crying. Caroline, I can't. Robert won't like it. Since when do you need Robert's permission to go out with a friend? It's not that. It's just that he's very stressed. With work, and I don't want to leave him alone. Marianne, listen to what you're saying. You're 7 months pregnant. You should be enjoying every moment before Sophia arrives, and you're stuck at home because of your husband's stress. Caroline, please, don't make it complicated. I'm not making it complicated. I'm trying to understand. And I'm worried. Very worried. You don't need to be. I promise everything's fine. When she hung up, Marianne felt the weight of the lie. Nothing was fine, and Caroline knew it, but admitting it would mean taking action. And she wasn't ready. Not yet. Robert arrived home that night later than usual. Marianne waited for him in the living room, dinner ready. He entered, and she smelled it immediately. Alcohol. Not much, but enough to realize he had been drinking. Business dinner, he explained, noticing her gaze. Needed to loosen up the investors. And how was it? Good. I think we managed to make progress. They dined in silence. Robert ate little, complained about the seasoning of the meat. Marianne cleared the plates without a word. When she returned from the kitchen, he was on the sofa, tie loosened, eyes closed. Love, don't you want to go up to the bedroom? It'll be more comfortable. Later, I need to think. About the contract? About everything. He opened his eyes, looked at her. Sometimes I wonder if you understand the pressure I'm under, if you have any idea what it's like to carry a company, employees, responsibilities, while you stay here in this comfortable house without worrying about anything. Marianne swallowed the response she wanted to give. I do worry. About you, about our daughter, about our home. Home. He laughed humorlessly. Home is easy. What I do out there, that's difficult. She didn't answer. She went up to the bedroom alone. She lay on the huge, cold bed, feeling Sophia kick. The baby was agitated that night. Marianne placed her hand on her belly, trying to calm her. It's all right, my little one. Tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow wasn't better. Robert woke up even more irritated. He had received an early call informing him that one of the investors was pulling out of the deal. This is sabotage, he fumed as he got dressed. Someone is boycotting me. It's impossible. I'm sure you'll be able to resolve it, Marianne tried to reassure him. You don't know anything, Marianne. You don't understand how the business world works. Perhaps if you explained more, I could understand better and even help." "Help?" He turned to her, his eyes cold. "You're a labor lawyer, Marianne. You don't understand civil construction tenders, investments. Stay in your place." The words hurt more than any slap could have. Marianne remained silent, feeling the tears burn her eyes, but refusing to shed them in front of him. Robert left, slamming the door. Marianne stood there, still in the middle of the room, feeling her world collapse. Doris came up a few minutes later, found her still standing, staring into space. "Mrs. Marianne, you need to sit down. It's not good to stand like this being pregnant." Marianne allowed herself to be guided to the bed. "Doris, do you think I'm useless?" The housekeeper looked at her in surprise. "Of course not. Why are you saying that?" "It's how I feel, as if I'm good for nothing but decorating this house." "You are much more than that. And when little Sophia is born, you'll see that being a mother is the most important thing in the world." "And what if I'm not good at that either?" Doris sat beside her, took her hand. "You'll be an amazing mother, I know it. I see how you talk to the baby, how you take care of yourself, how you worry. That's love. And love is all a child needs." Marianne cried then. She cried softly, holding Doris's hand, venting without words, and the housekeeper stayed there in silence, offering the comfort she could. The week ended without improvement. Robert returned late every day, increasingly irritated. The contract was at risk. The investors were undecided. The competition was strong. He took out his frustration in small, caustic comments. Marianne learned to walk on tiptoes, to choose every word carefully, to avoid anything that could trigger an argument. On Friday night, he announced that he needed to travel to Manchester again for the weekend. "Last attempt to save the deal. Will you be all right here?" "Yes, I will." "Good. And Marianne, when I get back, we need to talk about some things." "About what?" "About our life, about expectations, about what I expect from you after Sophia is born." The tone was cold, distant. Marianne nodded, not trusting her own voice. Robert left on Saturday morning, and she was left there alone in the huge mansion, feeling that something was about to change, something bad. The storm was brewing, and she could feel the charged, heavy air, portending the chaos that was to come. Sunday dawned rainy. Marianne woke up alone in the immense bed, feeling the weight of loneliness mixed with the relief of having the house to herself. Robert had called the night before just to say he would stay one more day in Manchester. "Complex negotiations," he had explained curtly. He would return Monday night. Marianne didn't question him. She never questioned him. She spent the day reading, talking to Sophia, trying not to think about the conversation Robert had mentioned, about expectations, about what he expected from her after the baby was born. The words echoed in her mind like a premonition. She knew Robert well enough to know that conversation wouldn't be about partnership or mutual support. It would be about rules, more rules. Doris prepared a light lunch. They ate together in the kitchen, something that had become a small ritual on the days Robert travelled. The housekeeper talked about her daughter, who lived in Croydon, about her beloved grandchildren, about the simple but happy life she had outside those marble walls. Marianne listened with envy, envy of the simplicity, the freedom, the control Doris had over her own life. In the afternoon, Caroline called again. "Marianne, I need to see you. It's not a request. It's a necessity. I'm worried about you." "Caroline, we've talked about this. Everything's fine." "It's not, and you know it. Please, meet me. Even if it's for 15 minutes, I'll come to your house." "No." The reaction was automatic, almost desperate. "Robert doesn't like unannounced visitors." "Marianne, you're scaring me. This isn't normal." "Caroline, I'll call you later, okay? Now isn't a good time." She hung up before her friend could insist. She felt horrible about it, but she also knew she couldn't let Caroline come, not with the cameras recording everything, not with Robert checking her every move when he returned. Night fell, bringing more rain. Marianne ate dinner alone, took a warm bath, put on a comfortable nightdress, and went to bed early. Sophia was quiet, which worried her a little, but the doctor had said it was normal for the baby to have periods of less movement as space became smaller. She placed her hand on her belly, whispering, "Good night, my little one. Daddy comes back tomorrow. It's going to be a difficult day, but we'll get through it together." Monday arrived with the sky still overcast. Marianne woke with a slight backache, nothing uncommon for an advanced pregnancy. She went down for coffee, drank tea, ate toast. Robert called at noon. "I'll be there around 7. I want a good dinner waiting. Rare steak, that baked potato I like, and wine. I need to relax today. Consider it done. I'll ask Doris to prepare it." And Marianne set out. "A nice outfit. I don't want to see you in a nightgown when I arrive." "All right." When she hung up, her stomach tightened. There was something in his voice. A different tension. Heavier. Doris noticed her expression. "Is the master returning?" "Yes, tonight. He wants a special dinner." "I'll prepare everything." "Thank you, Doris. I don't know what I'd do without you." The housekeeper smiled sadly. "You are strong, Mrs. Marianne, stronger than you imagine." Marianne spent the afternoon tidying the house, changing the flowers in the vases, making sure everything was impeccable. At 6, she went up to change. She chose a navy blue silk dress, the most elegant one that still fit her advanced pregnancy. She brushed her hair, applied light makeup. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a stranger looking back. A woman preparing as if for battle, not to welcome her husband. Robert arrived exactly at 7. Marianne went down to greet him. He entered carrying his briefcase, his suit creased, his expression somber. The smell of alcohol was unmistakable. He had been drinking. Much more than at the business dinner the previous week. "Welcome back, love. How was your trip?" "Terrible." He threw his briefcase on the floor, loosened his tie. "I lost the contract. Lost millions because of incompetence and corruption. Someone paid the investors to back out. I'm sorry. I know how important it was to you." "You don't know anything." He walked past her without a kiss, without a touch. "Where's dinner?" "It's ready. Doris prepared everything as you asked." They went to the dining room. Marianne served the food, poured wine for him, got water for herself. Robert ate in silence, but it was a loaded silence, explosive. Marianne barely touched her plate. She was afraid. Afraid to speak. Afraid not to speak. Afraid of what was to come. "The meat is tough," he complained after a few minutes, "and the potato is bland. Is it so hard to make a decent dinner?" "I'm sorry. I can ask Doris to make something else." "Forget it. I've lost my appetite anyway." He took another sip of wine, refilled his glass. "And you? Are you just going to sit there watching me?" "I'm not very hungry either." "Of course. Pregnant women always have an excuse for everything, don't they?" Marianne didn't respond. Robert continued drinking. The silence stretched, heavy, threatening, until he spoke. "So, about that conversation I mentioned, we need to align expectations." "Go ahead." "When Sophia is born, I expect you to get back into a normal routine quickly. No staying home in a nightgown all day, breastfeeding non-stop, neglecting the house and me. You'll hire a nanny, you'll regain your figure, you'll go back to being the woman I married." Marianne felt something break inside her. "Robert, I'm going to be a mother. Our daughter will be the priority. The priority will be keeping this home running." He stood up, resting his hands on the table. "I work all day to maintain this standard of living. The least I expect is to come home and find order, beauty, efficiency. I don't want a sloppy wife and a chaotic home." "I won't be sloppy by taking care of our daughter." "You can do both. Other women do. Why can't you?" "Because I want to be present in my daughter's life." Marianne's voice came out louder than she intended. "I want to breastfeed her, change her diapers, watch her grow. I'm not going to outsource motherhood just to keep up appearances." "Appearances?" He laughed, but there was no humor. "Appearances are important, Marianne. They're everything, and you seem to have forgotten that." She stood up too, her chair scraping against the floor. "I haven't forgotten anything. I just have other priorities now." "Your priorities should be my priorities." "No. My priorities should be our daughter and our well-being, as a family." "Family." He walked towards her. stopping a few centimeters away. You want to talk about family? Then let's talk. A family functions with hierarchy, with respect, with the wife knowing her place. My place? Marianne felt the tears welling up, but held them back. My place isn't to be your subordinate, Robert. No? Then what is it? It's to be your partner, your equal. His laugh was cruel. Equal? You don't pay the bills for this house. You don't support this lifestyle. You don't make decisions that affect millions of pounds. How can you consider yourself my equal? Because a relationship isn't measured by money. It's measured by respect, by love, by partnership. Love. He spat the word as if it were poison. You want love? I gave you a mansion, jewelry, unlimited credit cards, a life women would kill for, and you want more? I want to be treated like a human being, not as your property. It was then that he grabbed her arm too tightly it hurt. You are my wife, Marianne. That means you owe me loyalty, obedience, respect. Let go of me. Her voice trembled. Or what? What are you going to do? Marianne tried to break free, but he tightened his grip. Robert, you're hurting me. Good. Maybe that will teach you. He released her abruptly, making her stumble. Doris appeared at the kitchen door, attracted by the shouts. Mr. Robert, please. Go back to the kitchen, Doris. This is none of your business. His voice was pure ice. The housekeeper hesitated, looked at Marianne with concern, but eventually retreated. Marianne was trembling. Her belly felt heavy. Sophia began to kick, agitated. Robert poured another glass of wine, drank it in one gulp. I'm going to the office. I don't want to be disturbed. And Marianne, think carefully about what we discussed, because after this child is born, things will change. My way. He left the room, leaving her there alone, holding her belly, feeling her world collapse around her. Marianne stood in the dining room for several minutes, trying to process what had just happened. Her arm still ached where Robert had held it. She knew there would be a mark. Doris returned silently, gently touched her shoulder. Come, Mrs. Marianne, I'll make you some tea. No need, Doris. I just need to go up and lie down. Are you sure? I can stay with you if you like. Yes, I am. Thank you. Marianne slowly climbed the stairs, each step seeming to weigh tons. She entered the bedroom, closed the door, leaned against it, and finally allowed the tears to fall. She cried softly, afraid that Robert would hear from the office and return for another round of humiliations. Sophia kicked incessantly. The baby felt her mother's stress, reacted to the adrenaline coursing through Marianne's blood. Calm down, my daughter. I'm sorry. Mommy is scared, but everything will be all right. It will be, she repeated, trying to convince herself. She changed, put on the nightdress Robert detested, and lay on the bed. She picked up her phone, thought about calling Caroline, her father, someone. But what would she say? That her husband had held her tightly, that he was controlling her, that she was afraid of what was to come. It would sound exaggerated. It would sound like drama. After all, he hadn't really hurt her. He hadn't shouted that much. He hadn't been violent in a way that left visible evidence, except for the mark on her arm that she could hide. That's how it worked. Small abuses that, when added together, formed a prison, but which individually could be justified, minimized, ignored. She fell asleep without realizing it, emotionally exhausted. She woke up in the middle of the night with Robert entering the room. He was calmer, but the smell of alcohol was still present. He had drunk, more in the office. He lay down beside her without saying anything. Marianne pretended to still be asleep. She didn't want to talk, didn't want to risk another argument. Tuesday morning arrived tense. Robert woke early, went straight to the bathroom, showered, got dressed. When he came down for coffee, Marianne was already at the table. They ate in silence, until he spoke, his tone softer, almost gentle. Marianne, about yesterday. I was stressed. Losing that contract affected me more than I imagined. I understand, but I shouldn't have spoken to you that way, or grabbed your arm so hard. I'm sorry. Marianne looked at him. It was the first time in months he had apologized for anything. Thank you for acknowledging it. We're a family. We need to support each other, especially now that Sophia is coming. He extended his hand across the table, touched hers. Can we start over? She wanted to believe. She desperately wanted to believe that it was genuine, that he would change, that things could get better. Yes, we can. Great. He smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I need to go. I have meetings all day. I'll see you tonight. When he left, Marianne felt a mix of relief and doubt. Doris appeared, began clearing the dishes. Do you believe him? Marianne sighed. I want to believe him. But you don't. I don't know, Doris. I'm so tired of trying to understand what's real and what isn't. What's real is what you feel. And I see in your eyes that you are not happy, that you are afraid. Marianne didn't deny it. She couldn't. The day passed slowly. She tried to read but couldn't concentrate. She tried to watch television but nothing held her attention. She talked to Sophia as she always did, but even her words seemed empty. She was in a limbo, waiting for night to come, waiting to see if Robert would maintain the softer tone or if he would revert to the controlling, cold man. Caroline called in the afternoon. Marianne, please don't ignore me. I'm desperate here. I need to know you're okay. I'm fine, Caroline. Really. Then meet me. Tomorrow. Lunch. For heaven's sake, Marianne. She thought about refusing again, but something inside her gave in. All right, tomorrow, noon, the same place. Thank goodness, I love you, friend. See you tomorrow. Marianne hung up, feeling she had taken an important step. Small, but important. Maybe telling Caroline would help. Maybe having someone from outside validating her feelings would make a difference. Robert arrived home that night earlier than expected, bringing flowers, white roses, Marianne's favorites. For you, he said, handing her the bouquet. As an apology for yesterday. They're beautiful, thank you. They dined together, the conversation lighter. Robert talked about work, about new projects that were emerging. Marianne listened, participated, felt that perhaps things really could improve, until he casually mentioned, "Oh, tomorrow I'll need to have dinner out. Meeting with potential investors. I'll probably be back late." "No problem. Actually, I'm also going out tomorrow, lunch with Caroline." The atmosphere changed immediately. With Caroline? Yes, it was already planned. I thought we talked about you going out. We talked about me letting you know. And I am letting you know. Marianne, you're 7 months pregnant. Don't you think it's better to avoid going out? It's just lunch, Robert. An hour at most. He looked at her for a long moment. All right, but I want you back soon. And text me when you arrive and when you leave the restaurant. Consider it done. But she knew. She knew from his tone, from the way his eyes had hardened, that he wasn't happy and that there would be consequences. On Wednesday, Marianne got ready carefully. She chose a comfortable dress, grabbed her bag and went downstairs. Robert had already left early. Doris saw her leave with a worried look. Be careful, Mrs. I'll be back soon, Doris. The restaurant was crowded when she arrived. Caroline was already there, waving animatedly. They hugged, sat down. And then, without waiting, Caroline blurted out, Marianne, tell me the truth. What's going on? And Marianne, for the first time, told her. She told her about the control, about the cameras, about the caustic comments, about the isolation, about the fear she felt. The words came out in bursts, as if a dam had broken. Caroline listened, her eyes wide, her hand holding Marianne's across the table. My God, Marianne, this is abuse. You realize that, right? It's not physical violence, Caroline. He's just being controlling. Emotional violence is violence, and from what you're telling me, it's only getting worse. I know, but I'm pregnant. I have a daughter coming. I can't just leave. Yes, you can. And you should. Before it's too late. Marianne shook her head. It's not that simple. It's simpler than you continuing to live like this. Marianne, I know people. Lawyers, shelters, support. I can help you. I need to think. I need time. Time is what you don't have, my friend. Look at you. You're thinner, pale, with dark circles under your eyes. This isn't pregnancy. It's chronic stress. It's fear. Caroline squeezed her hand. Please, Promise me you'll seriously think about leaving." "I promise." They talked a little longer, but the lightness of the lunch had been lost. When they said goodbye, Marianne felt the weight of reality even stronger. She drove back home, her heart heavy. She texted Robert as promised. "I'm heading home." The reply came immediately. "Good, I'm coming too. We need to talk." Marianne's stomach tightened. He had said he would have dinner out. Why was he coming back early? When she arrived at the mansion, Robert's car was already in the garage. She entered through the front door, found him in the living room. His face was red with anger. "So, was lunch with your friend good?" "Yes, it was." "What did you talk about?" "Friend things, trivialities." "Trivialities?" He stood up. "Like telling me I'm controlling, that you're afraid of me, that I'm isolating you." Marianne's blood ran cold. "How do you know that?" He held up her phone. "You left this in the car, and conveniently, Caroline texted you after lunch, a very revealing message." Marianne felt panic rise. "You read my messages? It's my right as a husband to know what my wife is doing behind my back. It's not your right to invade my privacy." "Privacy?" He laughed cruelly. "You have no privacy. You are my wife. You live in my house. You use my money. You carry my child. You owe me everything. I owe you nothing but respect, and you haven't given me the same. Respect is earned, Marianne, and you've done everything to lose it." The argument escalated quickly. Shouts echoed through the house. Doris appeared, tried to intervene, but Robert sent her away. Marianne tried to go up to the bedroom, but he blocked her path. "We're not finished here." "Yes, we are. I won't listen to this anymore." "Yes, you will. Because as long as you live in this house, you'll listen to what I have to say." "Then, maybe I shouldn't live in this house anymore." The words came out before she could think. Robert stood motionless, processing. Then something in him changed. His eyes grew colder, his posture stiffer. "You're not going anywhere. You can't stop me." He took a step towards her. "Yes, I can, and I will." Marianne recoiled, feeling real fear for the first time. Marianne's heart pounded erratically as she recoiled, her hands instinctively protecting her belly. Robert advanced another step, and at that moment, something definitively broke inside her. Fear gave way to a sudden, cruel clarity. She needed to get out of there. Now. "Robert, please, let's calm down. We can talk about this tomorrow when we're calmer." "There's nothing to talk about. You're staying here. You're going to stop this drama, and you're going to learn to be the wife I need." Marianne tried to bypass him to reach the stairs, but he grabbed her arm again, the same arm as before, which still bore the mark hidden under her sleeve. She let out a gasp of pain. "Let go of me." "Not until you promise you'll stop this nonsense about wanting to leave. I promise, just let go of me, please." He released her with an abrupt shove. Marianne stumbled, lost her balance. Her hip hit the corner of the coffee table. The pain was immediate, sharp, radiating down the side of her body. She fell to the floor, her hands automatically going to her belly. "Sophia. My daughter." Doris came running from the kitchen, having heard the noise. "Mrs. Marianne!" She knelt beside her, looked at Robert with a mixture of shock and anger. "Are you mad? She's pregnant." "It was an accident." Robert took a step back, his hands raised. "I didn't mean to. She lost her balance." Marianne tried to control her breathing, assess the pain. Everything hurt, but especially her lower back and belly. She had to go to the hospital. She needed to make sure Sophia was okay. "Doris, help me up." Slowly, the housekeeper helped her to her feet. Marianne felt something wet trickling down her leg. She looked down. Blood. My God. Panic seized her. "Doris, I'm bleeding. I need to go to the hospital. Now." Robert turned pale. "I'll take you." "No!" Marianne recoiled, holding on to Doris. "Don't touch me. Doris, call an ambulance." "Mrs., it's better if Mr. Robert takes you. It'll be faster." "I don't trust him. Please, Doris, call the ambulance." The housekeeper looked between the two, saw the genuine terror in Marianne's eyes, and nodded. She picked up her phone, dialed. Meanwhile, Marianne sat on the sofa, trembling. The pain in her belly increased. Contractions. They couldn't be contractions. It was too early. Sophia was only 7 months. No, no, no. Robert stood in the middle of the room as if he didn't know what to do. Marianne, I swear it was an accident. I just held you. You lost your balance. You pushed me. And now my daughter is in danger because of you. Don't say that. He sat in an armchair, ran his hands over his face. Everything will be all right. It has to be. The ambulance arrived in 15 minutes that felt like hours. The paramedics entered, quickly assessed the situation. Marianne was conscious but pale, sweating coldly with active bleeding. They needed to take her immediately. As they placed her on the stretcher, Doris held her hand. I'll go with you. Thank you. Robert tried to get into the ambulance too, but Marianne stopped him. No, you're not coming. Go alone if you want. Marianne, please. You did this, you did. Now leave me alone. The ambulance departed with its siren wailing. Inside, the paramedics monitored her vital signs, tried to stabilize her. Marianne held Doris's hand like an anchor, praying softly. Sophia, hold on. Mommy is here. We'll make it. Please, hold on. They arrived at the London clinic in Chelsea. Marianne was taken directly to the obstetric emergency room. A team of doctors received her, began performing tests. An emergency ultrasound showed that Sophia was in distress. Her heartbeat was irregular. There was placental abruption. They needed to perform an emergency C-section immediately. But it's too early, Marianne cried. She's only 7 months. It's better to deliver her now and give her a chance than to wait and lose them both, the obstetrician explained with firm gentleness. Marianne, you need to trust us. All right, save my daughter, please. They took her to the operating room. Doris stayed outside, calling Maurice. Marianne's father answered on the second ring. Mr. Maurice, it's Doris. Mrs. Marianne is at the hospital. There was an accident at the house. She's bleeding and they're doing an emergency C-section. What? What do you mean, accident? Maurice was agitated. What happened? Doris hesitated but decided to tell the truth. It was Mr. Robert. They argued. He pushed her. She fell. There's suspected placental abruption. That bastard, Maurice fumed. I'm coming there. Which hospital? The London clinic, Chelsea. Maurice hung up. Doris sat in the waiting room, her hands trembling. Robert arrived 20 minutes later, his eyes red, his clothes creased. Where is she? In the operating room. They're doing an emergency C-section. He sat heavily in a chair, his hands covering his face. I didn't want this. I was just nervous. She provoked me. You pushed her. Doris glared at him, all the anger contained for months finally emerging. You pushed her, she fell, and now the baby might not survive. That wasn't an accident. It was a consequence. Shut up, Doris. You don't know anything. I know what I see every day. I see how you treat her, how you control her every step, every word, how you make her feel like a prisoner in her own home. Robert stood up menacingly. You're fired. No, I'm not. Because I only work for those I respect. And you lost my respect a long time ago. Maurice arrived like a hurricane, tall, imposing, with the bearing of someone who had spent decades in courtrooms. Where is my daughter? In the operating room, Doris replied. Maurice saw Robert and marched towards him. You? Was it you who did this? It was an accident, Mr. Maurice, I swear. Accident. The judge laughed humorlessly. You think I don't know what's going on? You think I haven't noticed how my daughter changed since she married you? How she became quiet, subdued, afraid? You don't understand anything. I understand perfectly. Maurice took a step forward, his finger pointing. And if anything happens to my daughter or my granddaughter, I swear to God I will use every ounce of influence I have to ensure you pay for this. You can't threaten me. It's not a threat. It's a promise. The tension was interrupted by the operating room door opening. The obstetrician came out, removing her mask. The three turned to her. Marianne Davies' family? I'm her father. Maurice stepped forward. How is she? The surgery was successful. We managed to stabilize the bleeding and perform the C-section. Marianne is stable, will make a full recovery. And the baby? The doctor sighed. Sophia was born premature, weighing only 1.8 kilo. She's in the neonatal intensive care unit. The prognosis is guarded. The next few days will be critical. But will she survive? Robert asked. We will do everything in our power, but you need to be prepared for any eventuality. Maurice felt his legs weaken. Doris held his arm. You'll be all right, sir. Sophia is strong. She'll make it. When can I see my daughter? She's still in recovery, but in about an hour, visitors will be allowed. One person at a time. Robert stepped forward. I'm the husband. I'll see her first. No. Maurice blocked. His way. You caused this. Don't go near my daughter. You can't stop me. She's my wife. Yes, I can, and I will. The judge's voice was steel. Because now this is no longer just a family matter. It's a legal matter, and I will ensure that justice is done. In the recovery room, Marianne slowly woke up. She felt the pain, the emptiness in her belly. Sophia. Where was Sophia? A nurse approached. Calm down, madam. Your daughter was born. She's in the neonatal intensive care unit. The doctor will explain everything. When Maurice finally entered, he found Marianne, crying silently. Daughter. He held her hand. I'm here. Dad. Her voice was hoarse. Sophia. She's fighting. She's a warrior, like you. It was his fault. Robert pushed me. I fell. I know, daughter, and he will pay for this. I promise. Marianne closed her eyes, tears still rolling. All she wanted was to hold her daughter, to tell her that everything was all right, that Mommy was there. But Sophia was alone in that incubator, fighting for her life, and Marianne was there, powerless, shattered, but for the first time in a long time free from the silence that had imprisoned her, because now everyone knew the truth. The next 3 days were a roller coaster of emotions. Sophia fought bravely in the neonatal intensive care unit, connected to tubes and monitors, her small body fragile but resilient. Marianne spent every permitted minute by the incubator, talking to her daughter, singing softly, promising a better future. And while Sophia fought for every breath, something extraordinary was happening outside that hospital. The story leaked. No one knew for sure how, but the truth about what had happened at the Kensington mansion reached the press. Doris, in a moment of conscience and courage, had sought out Caroline. She told her everything, every detail she had witnessed during the months working in that house. And Caroline, a journalist to the core, knew that story needed to be told. But there was more. The security cameras Robert had installed to control Marianne now turned against him. Maurice, using his contacts, gained access to the recordings. And there it was, in clear and undeniable video, the exact moment Robert pushed Marianne, her falling, the blood on the floor. 40 seconds that would change everything. Caroline, with Maurice's permission and Marianne's implicit consent, published the article. The impact was immediate and devastating. Social media exploded. The video, though edited to initially protect Marianne's identity, clearly showed the violence. Hashtags emerged. Demonstrations were organized. The entire country rose in outrage. Robert Davies, the respected businessman, the admired man of affairs, saw his empire crumble in a matter of hours. Sponsors cancelled contracts. Partners requested his removal. The construction company, to protect its own image, was forced to remove him from the presidency. And justice, fueled by popular pressure and irrefutable evidence, acted with unusual speed. Maurice didn't rest. As a retired judge, he knew every loophole, every procedure, every right person. He gathered the evidence, he pressured the authorities. He ensured the case wouldn't be filed away or neglected, and the prosecution, led by a prosecutor specializing in domestic violence, embraced the cause with fervor. On the 5th day after the incident, Robert was formally charged. The accusations were multiple and serious. Bodily harm in the context of domestic violence, coercion, threats. Bail was denied. He was held in preventive detention, awaiting trial. Marianne learned of the arrest while sitting beside Sophia's incubator. Maurice told her personally, "Daughter, he's been arrested. He won't be able to bother you anymore." She felt no joy, no relief. only a deep weariness. "Dad, I just want my daughter to be okay. The rest doesn't matter." "She will be. She's strong, like you." And Sophia truly was. On the 7th day, doctors confirmed she was stable, gaining weight slowly but consistently. Her lungs responding well. She would still have to remain hospitalized for weeks, but the prognosis had improved considerably. It was then that Marianne made the most important decision of her life. She would not return to that mansion. She would not return to that life. She initiated divorce proceedings immediately. Maurice supported her completely, securing the best lawyers. And surprisingly, Robert did not contest. Perhaps out of shame, perhaps for legal strategy, he agreed to all terms. Marianne would receive alimony for Sophia, but renounced any claim to his assets. She wanted nothing that tied her to that man. While Sophia recovered, Marianne also began her own recovery. Not just physical, but emotional and psychological. She underwent therapy. She talked openly with Caroline, with her father, with a support group for victims of domestic violence she discovered through the hospital's social worker. And it was in these conversations that she realized how many other women lived in similar situations, how many were trapped in marriages that seemed perfect on the outside, but were hells within. 3 months later, Sophia was finally discharged, still small, but healthy and strong. Marianne took her home, not to the Kensington mansion, but to a cozy apartment in Islington that Morris had helped her rent. It was smaller, simpler, but it was theirs. And for the first time in years, Marianne truly felt at home. Robert's trial took place 6 months after the incident. It was a national event. The courtroom galleries were packed. Protesters, outside, television cameras. The entire country was following. Marianne testified. With Sophia in her arms, because she refused to leave her with anyone, she took the witness stand and told her story. Not just about that night, but about everything. The gradual control, the constant humiliations, the progressive isolation, the psychological prison in which she had lived. Her voice trembled several times, but it didn't break, because she was no longer afraid. Caroline also testified, Doris also, and the video was shown. 40 seconds of absolute silence in the courtroom as everyone watched Robert pushing Marianne, her falling, the blood, staining the marble floor. The defense tried to argue stress, business pressure, accident, but it convinced no one. The evidence was too clear, the pattern of abusive behavior too well documented. The verdict came after only 3 hours of jury deliberation. Guilty. On all charges. The sentence was handed down by the judge in a firm, clear voice. Robert Davies was sentenced to 12 years in prison. No possibility of appealing while at liberty. Additionally, he was ordered to pay significant compensation to Marianne and Sophia, in addition to the already established monthly alimony. And finally, a permanent restraining order was issued. He could not approach Marianne or attempt contact with Sophia until she turned 18 and decided for herself if she wished to meet her father. Outside the courtroom, the crowd cheered. Marianne walked out the main door, Sophia in her arms, Maurice by her side, Caroline right behind. She faced the cameras and microphones, and when asked how she felt, she answered with honesty. Relieved, but most importantly, hopeful. Because this isn't just about me. It's about all women who are living in similar situations, about showing that it's possible to leave, that it's possible to start over, that no one deserves to live in fear within their own home. Marianne's words echoed throughout the country, and something began to change. More women began to report, more cases came to light, and society finally began to pay attention. It was Maurice who suggested the idea. Daughter, you've been through something terrible, but you survived, and you have knowledge, you have a story, you have a voice. Why don't you use all of that to help other women? Marianne thought. And she realized he was right. She talked to Caroline, with other activists, with specialized psychologists, and that's how the project was born. A foundation, a space for shelter and support for women in situations of domestic violence. A place where they could find legal, psychological, financial support, where they could start over. Maurice donated the initial money, The compensation Marianne received from Robert was fully invested in the project, and business people, moved by the story, also contributed. In less than a year, the foundation was up and running. The inauguration took place on a sunny November day. The space was in Chelsea, near the hospital where Sophia was born. It had a psychological counseling room, a legal office, a library, a children's play area, even temporary dormitories for emergency cases. Everything was carefully thought out, with love, with purpose. Marianne spoke at the ceremony, Sophia, now a year and a half old, running through the garden of the space. Every scar tells a story, every pain teaches us something, but no woman should carry these marks alone. Here, in this space, no one is alone. Here, starting over is possible, because justice is not just punishment, it's also the chance to be reborn. The audience gave a standing ovation. Among those present were Doris, who now worked at the foundation as administrative coordinator, Caroline, who continued covering stories of courageous women, and Maurice, tears in his eyes, proud of the daughter who knew how to transform pain into purpose. Inside the foundation, in the main room, a framed picture. Sophia's first photo still in the incubator. Small, fragile, but a fighter. Below it, a bronze plaque. In memory of all the women who couldn't escape, and in honor of those who found the strength to start over. The narrative could end here, but there's one last scene. Marianne, a few years later, in her new apartment. Now she's a lawyer again, but specializing in domestic violence cases, working in partnership with the foundation. Sophia, now 5 years old, is sleeping in her room. The home is full of life, colors, laughter. Marianne is sitting on the balcony, a cup of tea in her hands, looking at the stars. Beside her, the ultrasound photo she kept, the blurred image of the daughter she almost lost. She touches the glass softly, whispering, "We made it, Sophia. It wasn't easy, but we made it." A candle is lit on the small table. It is no longer a symbol only of longing for lost possibilities. It's a symbol of hope, of rebirth, of all the women who are still finding the strength to take the first step towards freedom. Marianne smiles, closes her eyes, breathes deeply, and feels, perhaps for the first time in a long time, that she is completely, genuinely, profoundly alive. Because she survived, more than that, she was reborn, and in the process, she helped countless other women do the same, because justice, she had learned, isn't just about punishing the guilty, it's about giving the victim the chance to become a survivor. And then, a transformer. The candle flame dances softly in the night breeze, and Marianne knows that as long as that light remains lit, as long as her story continues to be told, as long as the foundation continues to welcome women who need help, the purpose of everything she had lived through will have been fulfilled. She is no longer the silent woman who lived trapped in a gilded mansion. She is Marianne, mother, lawyer, activist, survivor. And her story, like that of so many others, deserves to be heard, celebrated, and used as a beacon for those who are still finding their way back to themselves. Dear listeners, we hope that the story of Marianne and Sophia has deeply touched your hearts. This narrative of overcoming, courage, and rebirth reminds us that it is never too late to start over, that justice is possible, and that no woman is alone in her struggle. To continue this emotional journey, we have prepared a special playlist with equally captivating and inspiring stories. Find it here by clicking on your left. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with anyone who needs to. Hear messages of hope. Every day we bring unique narratives that explore the complexity of life, the strength of the human spirit, and the power of transformation. Let us know in the comments which part of the story touched you most, or if you know someone who also found the strength to start over. Your words can inspire others. Don't miss our upcoming content. Until the next story, and always remember, you are stronger than you imagine, and you are never alone.